Hey, what's going on, dudes? My name is MrRhexx and we're back with some more Elder Scrolls Skyrim. It's been a while, boys. I think it's been maybe 2 months. It really has been a while, but kind of happy to be back. Kind of. I think I enjoy more doing the normal commentaries than talking while playing. Skyrim, for me, is the sort of game that I just like to be immerse myself and just sort of, play on my own. But you guys really do dig this, so I'm here to serve. Anyways, where we left off, we were in the process of doing, what was the name of it? The Cure for Madness. We're essentially hunting down Cicero because he went into a flurry of knives, the flurry of attacks back in the shrine, in the sanctuary, and he attacked a few dudes. Not very nice of him, and we're trying to hunt him down. We decided to let him live because we love Cicero. Cicero is cool. We also are, at least I am hoping to keep him as an ally. Now, one thing that I sort of want to touch on before we even get any further, because this is something that I always wondered, in a journal, when you actually, look at the blood in there. In a journal that you find, where Cicero sort of has been writing on, he tells that the guardians of this sanctuary, of the Dangstar Sanctuary, will not attack him. And the reason that they will not attack him is because... Just gonna use this. Is because he's considered to be the keeper. And the guardians essentially protect the keeper. It's very interesting because we are supposed to be the listener. So you might be wondering, well, why are they attacking you if you're also sort of like, you're a part of the entire Brotherhood? And to some, you might say, well, this is a game, right? You're supposed to have enemies, otherwise what's the point? But to me, it's interesting because if you summon the spirit of Lucien Lechance in this mission, you get told by him that that Sithis actually wants you to save Cicero. She doesn't, or I guess he or she, whatever, doesn't want you to kill him. And it is understood for the most part that everything you do in this world, especially as a part of, as an agent of the Brotherhood, whatever you do is sensed or felt, or in most ways just sort of heard by Sithis, and that she has the ability to essentially convey her messages to her minions, essentially, in many different ways. I believe that it is probably understood that the Sanctuary Guardians, in a lot of ways, essentially follow the will of Sithis, right? And we are on our way to kill the Keeper. The Guardians, I believe, are just essentially... They know what I'm here to do. They know that I'm here to kill Cicero. Sithis doesn't want me to kill Cicero, hence they are essentially defending Cicero from being executed. And I believe that there's a reason for that, right? It's a reason why they're attacking me, and there he is. There are ways of getting his armor without actually killing him, but that involve paralyzing him with spells or, paralyzing poisons, and then essentially just pickpocketing him for free. But we're not really that clever. It's a lot of blood from all the people they've been torturing. Now, of course, we're gonna let him live. We're gonna go ahead and lie to everyone else. But one thing, people like to say that he's actually pretending to be injured when in reality he's not. In an attempt, of course, to sort of seduce us into letting him live, for us to feel pity on him. And of course, in the case that we actually lash out against him and attempt to kill him, that he can just sort of surprise us and kill us, right? I don't know if I necessarily believe that, though. And look, I am the type of guy that will definitely sort of put lore in front of... lore and immersion in front of gaming purposes. Like, as soon as you attack him, he's gonna stand up and essentially be at full health and attack you, and that's why people say that he's sort of pretending. I think that is really just gaming purposes, though. So let's go ahead and see if we can get some stuff out of this. That's actually a pretty good enchantment. Yeah, let's do that. Dwarven Sword of Thunderbolts. I should use more my Conjured Sword, so... Alright, let's go. Now, there are a couple of questions from you guys that I have brought forth today so that We can have a couple of conversations. And actually, I should probably level first. I was debating on what to get. I was thinking maybe Conjuration Dual Casting just so that I can have my my MrRhexx just sort of last longer. I don't think I necessarily need that, however. And there's really nothing else that I would like to get. Bound Weapons, Castle, Trap, and Targets is pretty good if I'm going to be doing a lot of enchanting. I'm really not, though. I'm really not that. Double Duration for Conjure. So this would be even better than just getting the dual casting. However, my the goal here is not to use MrRhexx. The goal here is to use Dremora, which I believe don't count for this? Oh, I don't remember. As I said before multiple times, I used my Conjurer build, this build, to do my Legendary run on Skyrim, where I essentially finished the whole game. I don't remember if this actually helped. I know there's a few bugs relating to some of these skills, but I don't remember. It's been a while. What I'm going to do instead, however, is I am simply going to get more damage. I know, it's boring, but, I mean, it's tried and true, right? So let's go with that. Also, apologize for the 30 frames per second video. I'm sort of trying to get some things fixed here with my hard drive. I don't have an SSD drive, just a normal drive, and recording on normal drives is sort of a pain in the ass. Anyways, question numero uno by Hash Sayer, and this is my favorite question, so I wanted to answer it first because it might take me the whole video just to do this one. Hey Rex, can you talk about the Ayleids more? I mean, why did they disappear? I like this question because the Ayleids are such an important part of not just Cyrodiil, but the entire storyline of the whole of Elder Scrolls, including Shadowmere, including I mean, all of the future games, Oblivion, Skyrim, anything that we're gonna essentially do from now on will have, like, everything that happened to the Ayleids will have a huge impact on every single one of those. And I guess I'm just gonna get this quest real quick, and then I'll continue having that conversation. So let's go ahead and read the cookbook, because I believe it is interesting in a couple of different ways. I think this is actually the volume where it speaks of the sort of shadowy minions not attacking him. Anyways, uncommon taste. For those of you who like to play Dark Brotherhood, and you know, those of you who do this quest a lot, please don't read this book. Please don't. It's sad. I mean, the guy, the orc, the gourmet, he's such a nice guy. Like, in here, he's essentially talking to his friend, like, hey, thank you so much for being my friend. And, you know, we together, we're gonna make the world happy with our cooking. Like, this guy is so nice. It's actually painful. He's like, we're gonna rid the world of hunger, you know? Like, I don't know. He seems like such a cool dude. And, of course, you, in this quest line, go and kill him. I don't know. It just makes me sad. But it's cool because if you read further, you will actually notice that the potage le magnifique is actually here, which, if I remember correctly, it's the meal that you actually get to, like, you get asked a couple of questions by the cook over in Solitude, and she goes and asks you essentially, like, all right, so what do you need to cook this thing? And you have to essentially give her the options. But it's interesting because at the very end, it says that there is a specific, and this is something that the cook asks you in the questline later on. It's like, hey, so what's the secret ingredient? Like, you know, what are we gonna put in there? And I think you get a couple of options, like you can put in like a giant's toe and, you know, crazy things like that. But if you read the book, it actually tells you what it is, and what it is there is no secret ingredient. It's one of those things where it's just like, the secret was always in you, you know, like it's like bullshit or whatever. So I thought it was kind of interesting. There is no secret ingredient. It's really just, there's nothing. I mean, it's a facade, man. Anyways, I thought it was cool. As he goes back to sleep. Anyways, let's talk a little bit about the Ayleid. So how did they disappear? Or rather, Hash asked, why did they disappear? Well, they disappeared for two reasons. One, they were keeping slaves. And as we all know from human past in our real life world, keeping slaves produces very powerful rebellions. There was an inner conflict in between different sections of the Ayleids. There were actually contrary to popular belief, there was not just one sort of kingdom of the Ayleids. There were 3 or 4 different kingdoms of Ayleids. And yeah, the imperial city with the white gold tower was certainly the sort of like the center of commerce and the center of the political game that these guys were playing. But there were multiple kingdoms that the Ayleid had. Such an awkward thing. Ayleid had. Such an awkward thing to say. But there were multiple kingdoms, and a lot of them were in battle between each other for reasons that are not really told to us. But Alessia was this woman who was born as a slave, as a human slave in the kingdom. And she essentially, in the sacred city of Sancretor, she was given a vision. A divine vision by the gods, and essentially a divine mandate that said, hey, you must lead a rebellion, you will lead a rebellion that will be successful, and you will essentially become queen. And that's essentially what she did. She organized this massive rebellion, and with the help of the inner fighting between all the kingdoms of the Ayleids, she essentially won. The Vigilants of Stander are an organization that was formed because of the Oblivion Crisis, because of all the Daedras that were invading the world. Stander essentially created, well, himself, I wouldn't believe so, but, you know, people banded together with the idea of, fuck Daedras, let's hunt them down, and that's essentially where it came from. Kind of scary people, you know? The Crusades and all that. Where was I? God, people just interrupting me, man. I lost complete focus of what I was talking about, holy shit. Ayleid. Yeah, so Alessia, she succeeded in her rebellion and essentially took over the White Gold Tower, essentially taking over Cyrodiil for the humans. At the time, you know, the humans were essentially, you know, those sort of very weakling sort of like people that came from the north, essentially, you know, not really banded together for the most part. They took Cyrodiil, and for the next 200 years, this is, by the way, like, first era. This is like thousands of years ago, like on the first era, the year 200 or something. But yeah, for the next 200 years, Alessia essentially like completely exterminated all the remainder of the Ayleids after that. Like after she won the war, she started making mandates and laws that would essentially screw over all the Ayleids, to the point where like they had to leave Cyrodiil because the lives that they were living in Cyrodiil was garbage. So stories say that, you know, a lot of them left to different locations. It's my phone. Sorry about that. Some of the Ayleids left to Black March and essentially were destroyed by the elves. There were a couple of elves that used to live in Black March, and they were essentially annihilated, and a lot of them died on the travels. Some of them left to elsewhere and were killed in elsewhere. There was a massacre. I mean, a pretty brutal massacre. Every Ayleid that left to Skyrim was killed as well by this like crazy guy who hunted them down. There's a whole story about it. Essentially, those that left to Valenwood had like the best luck, but they were essentially integrated into the Valenwood people as long as they took on the Green Pact. You know, like protect the forest, eat your enemies, all that stuff. We, of course, have to kill him. However, we're going to have to pick a better time because this place is packed. I believe I can probably just wait until nightfall and then kill him in his sleep. It shouldn't be too much of a problem. But yeah, I mean, essentially, that's what happened to the Ayleids. Alessia made a revolt and essentially took over their main cities and killed them all, like, you know, systematically making laws against them and exterminating them. I mean, she was pretty brutal with all this. And yeah, they all left Cyrodiil because they wanted a better life, and they weren't accepted in any other place except Valenwood. Some stories, and these are just stories, by the way, like this, what I'm about to say now, it's really, like, if you read some of the books that are released in Skyrim and Oblivion, etc., like the backstory, it says that this is not even proven, that this is really just like stories. But some of the stories say that something happened to the Ayleids that make them essentially not able to reproduce between each other. I don't know. And so they started to reproduce between them and the Bosmer, which essentially diluted their blood, and that's why we don't have any more Ayleid, you know, sort of heartland elves anymore. Whether that is true or not, I don't know. That's just sort of what they tell us. And there's a lot of other reasons, like they just simply migrated to the Somerset Isles, and that's why we haven't seen them. You know, there's some myriad of reasons. But yeah, I mean, that's interesting, and the reason I say it's so important is because Alessia, because she became the queen, I mean, of Cyrodiil, she started to put laws in the kingdom, and her laws were essentially religious laws. She essentially made the 8 divines. The reason that we venerate, Kinnereth and Stendar and all of these guys in Akatosh is because she literally said, okay, we're gonna venerate these guys. So the 8 divines are essentially a amalgamation of 2 different religions, of the Aldmeri religions and the Nordic religions, because the Nords were essentially her ally. Thanks to the Nords was because she managed to win that war, essentially. And obviously she had to keep the elves at peace as well. So she had to sort of unite both religions into one. So, some people say that she grabbed Alduin from the Nords and then Auriel from the elves and essentially created Akatosh. So the name Akatosh essentially comes from Alessia. She invented it. Whether Akatosh is a true god or not, I mean, I guess it's, obviously we've seen Akatosh in Oblivion, right? Like at the end we see the avatar of Akatosh and everything, but it's just all interesting, right, how that whole thing works, because oh my god, I'm getting in too deep here. I'm sorry guys, I'm getting way too deep. And it's we've talked about the dragon breaks before, and how in a dragon break anything can happen. Things that are not real can become real, people can become gods can become people. It's fucking crazy, right? There was this one, I think it was called the Dawn break or a Middle Dawn break or something, I don't remember, but it was essentially a dragon break where a group of people essentially created Akatosh because get this, it was like a super like racist group of humans that said, hey, we don't want to venerate any elvish gods. Yeah, we like Akatosh, but we don't want Akatosh to be about Auriel. Like, fuck Auriel, that's an elvish god, we don't want him, right? So they essentially created Akatosh by opening the gates of magic upon the world, Orbis, essentially, and using this like magical item, they created a dragon break where they essentially removed Akatosh from Auriel, separating them, essentially creating a god, right? Whether that is true or not, again, who the fuck knows, but it's in the story, it's in the lore that this happens. So I don't know, man, it's so complicated. This game is complicated. Cool, let's get this done. Let me see if I can. But yeah, someone asked me actually if I would disregard, like your suggestions, and I would simply play Skyrim on my own accord, doing whatever I wanted to do. If I would, what questline would I play? Well, I wouldn't play the Dark Brotherhood because I hate playing Dark Brotherhood without being like a stealthy character. It's the worst. Yeah, see, I'm really bad at this. Like, this is the part that I know that I can, there's a myriad of things I can do. I can give him Frenzy to have him sort of kill himself, essentially. I can just be better. Ooh, that seemed to work. Can we just fast travel out of here? I don't think I can fast travel inside of a building, so. Okay, it worked. Cool. Let's go ahead and quick save that shit. Awesome. So, hash sire. That's essentially what happens to the what happened to the Ayleids. Yeah, they were systematically massacred by a rebellious Alessia. It's just pretty interesting stuff. Fun fact: Alessia was married to a Minotaur, a demigod called Morihaus. It's just random factoid. I know it's weird, but trust me on that. Let's see what else. Claire Dean. If there are ghosts in Tamriel, spirits that never left Nirn, theoretically, could Alduin revive them? I don't think Alduin could have revived any non-dragons. I theorized before that I believe the reason why Alduin could revive dragons is because the soul of dragons never leave Nirn. They essentially stay here, whereas as a human, if you die, you go to Aetherius. You essentially get moved to another plane of existence. And that's why you cannot be revived, right? Because your soul is not here anymore. Whether that's true or not, I don't know. That's just my own personal theory. But, I mean, the fact of the matter is, the Druggers and the Dragon Priests, they went through so much trouble just to stay alive, because I'm pretty sure Alduin couldn't revive them, right? If Alduin could have just revived every single one of its followers. I mean, the old Nords would just simply would have died, you know, and then, okay, yeah, Alduin's gonna revive me at some point, so whatever, and then just die, right? But no, instead, they build all these tombs, they made this, like, crazy ritual so that, you know, all the servants and the druggers would keep the Dragon Priest alive through, like, this crazy magic, you know? It seems like Alduin had the ability to essentially restore the body of a decaying body into like its normal form, but not necessarily revive someone whose soul would have passed already. That's what I believe, Claire. Just based on everything that's, you know, all the lore that we have for the Dragon Priest, it doesn't really align with Alduin having the ability to essentially revive humans. And the last one by the Viper. Could we ever see a game about the invasion of Akavir? And if we could, does it seem logical for the Tiger Dragon people to invade elsewhere, as the seem Khajiit weaker versions? Are the Khajiit and those guys, I think they're called the Kapotun, if I'm not mistaken, are they similar in any way? Are they related? Man, this thing is far. I don't think they're related whatsoever. I mean, they might be. It's weird, right? Because, and I recently just talked about essentially what happened according to the Khajiits, like how they were created, where they came from, and it's essentially a Daedra that created them. And there's this whole religious backstory about how it happened. Whether that was the case with the Kapotun, I mean, it is possible, right? It is certainly possible that the Khajiits were created and then they just simply migrated outside and they formed the Kapotun. I mean, they are very similar. They're essentially tigers, right? Cats and tigers, I mean, they are very, very alike. I mean, we know that the creation of the Bosmer essentially made them into, like, they had the ability to change shapes. If you like look into like the entire backstory of the Bosmer, you will know, yeah, they could transform into trees, they could transform into cats and into birds and into animals and tigers, right? So it would make sense that some of these people essentially were not freed by Ifri, their forest god, and were they kept on polymorphing until they just settled into a cat sort of version of themselves. I mean, this is not entirely impossible. I don't know. I guess the answer is I don't know, Viper. We don't really have this lore, you know. I can only theorize, and there are examples that we could use. Again, it could really just be a sector of the Khajiits, or it could be the Bosmer polymorphed into those tiger people, right? And the reason why that may be possible is also because, I mean, they obviously polymorphed. They have the ability to turn themselves into dragons. Whether that is true or not, I guess it depends. We still have to see, right? But if they can turn into a dragon, they probably have the ability to polymorph, and, you know, they probably come from the old Bosmers that could do that. We know that the Bosmer have, like, magics that can turn people into monsters, like literally into monsters. So that's again another sort of polymorph, you know, side, like, ability that they possess. I don't know, man. It's just cool to think about, I think, most of all. But anyways, we are... Ooh, okay, yeah. I was thinking, wait, did we kill the other guy? We did. So now we're just going to go down here. Now, there are two ways of killing this guy. The Gourmet. He spends most of his time on the basement. You can easily kill him there. There are absolutely no guards. There are no civilians. There's no witnesses. You can kill him there and then obviously hide him. Or, I believe if you talk to this guy, he tells you something different. So the guy tells you that the Gourmet sometimes goes to the lake. Now, if you talk to Gabriella over in the Dark Brotherhood Sanctuary, she'll tell you that one of her favorite ways of hiding the corpses of those that she kills is by hiding them in bodies of water. So you already get a suggestion as to what to do, right? He goes to the lake sometimes. You can go to the lake, kill him with, you know, any suspects in there, and then just simply throw him at the lake. That's something that the game essentially tells you that you can do. However, I mean, we all know it's just a lot easier to calm down here, kill him, put him in one of the wine barrels. I mean, look how many barrels there are, and essentially some of them I know for a fact to be open. This one's open. You can just throw him in there, and it essentially fulfills the requirements of the quest. Let's go ahead and quick save, and let's get this done. It's so sad, right? Because he's such a nice guy. If you Oh, shit. Oh, no. Okay, we're good. He's really weak. You can kill him with just your Fusro dial. Like, it's not a big deal. Here we go. That's what we need. It's so sad. If you read the book, like, he comes off as a really fucking sweet guy. And then here we are, like, he's like, no, please. No, and then you just kill him. It's just, I don't know, man. It's so sad. Fun facts, though, if you decapitate him, you actually have to hide both the head and the body for it to work, which I think is hilarious as hell. And if you disintegrate him, you are kind of screwed because you can't move that. Boop. There we go. I believe if you do what I did, if you say like, hey, I'm gonna kill you or whatever, he doesn't actually run away from the basement. He essentially hides behind one of these barrels. So you can just wait until he does that and then kill him there. And essentially he's like hidden, like he hides himself, which it's pretty convenient. But there you go. We're gonna get I believe it's a ring out of, you know, sort of completing the bonus. So we can just go ahead and get that done. Let's go ahead and do that. But yeah, just a few things before we end the video and before we complete the quest. I'm sorry again for the FPS. It's gonna be at 30. I know it's not ideal, but I'm trying to figure things out, and I guess you guys could help me with this one actually. So I do have an SSD and I do have a hard drive, right? The SSD, however, is being used on Windows. My Windows is installed on the SSD, and I believe the game is as well. So I record on the hard drive because it makes sense, right? I can't run the game and Windows and record on the same drive. That would be crazy, right? Or is it crazy? Would it still be faster? I guess I could install the game on my hard drive and then record on the SSD, even though I'm running Windows on the SSD. I don't know I don't know how it would be faster. I know that I could uninstall Windows and then install Windows on my hard drive so that I can keep my SSD free, but I really wouldn't want to do that. So that sort of on the side, what would be my best choice? If you guys could help me with that, that'd be lovely. And yeah, if the sound is off, like if my volume is too high or too low, I'll fix it for the next video. I'm sorry, I had a lot of problems, man. Cool. Now, before I go, guys, there is one little secret extra thing. After you take on the mantle of the gourmet, after you get the rite of passage and you kill the old gourmet, you essentially become him, right? People believe that you're him. Now, there is one guy that you can talk to pretending to be the gourmet, and if you do, he gives you a little something. Now, this particular character travels all around Skyrim, so finding him would be an ordeal and an adventure just out of itself. So we're not gonna do that. Instead, we're just gonna cheat. Mostly because I just want to show you. Now, I have never done this before. I don't know if it'll work if I summon him. And that's what you get. You get a dangerous heart, spider egg, troll fat, and bulbous fork. Let's see if we can find that. There we go. Isn't that just beautiful, you guys? So yeah, you can get this. It's just a unique item. This is something that I do for my main account. I collect every single possible unique item in the game, and I just sort of put it on my stash, you know, my super stash. I actually made a video before. I showed you guys my stash full of like rare gems and unique items in the game, and this is one of them that you can use. It's cool. It's just one of those extra things that I think makes Skyrim such a perfect game. Just all those little tiny things, you know? It's just a beautiful thing. Anyways, I hope you all enjoyed the video. Sorry it took very long for me to make another one, but see you guys next time. Bye-bye.